Imagine spending 20 hours preparing for an interview, watching videos, reading articles, memorizing answers, practicing in front of the mirror, only to perform worse because of that preparation. Sounds impossible, but it's happening every day because some of the most popular interview advice on the internet is quietly making candidates less authentic, less memorable, and less hireable. And the worst part? Most people never realize it's happening. Today, I'm going to show you why following interview advice too closely can actually hurt your chances of getting hired, and what successful candidates do instead. Think about what most job seekers do before an interview. They search how to answer interview questions, top interview tips, perfect interview answers, how to impress recruiters. And before long, they've consumed hours of advice. But here's a question. If interview advice works so well, why are so many qualified people still struggling? The answer is surprisingly simple. Most interview advice teaches you how to perform, not how to communicate. It teaches you what to say, not how to think. It teaches you how to appear confident, not how to become confident. And that's where the problem begins, because interviews are not performances, they're conversations. The moment you start treating an interview like a performance, you start sounding like everyone else. One of the most common pieces of interview advice is be confident. Sounds reasonable, but most people misunderstand what confidence actually looks like. They think confidence means speaking loudly, talking quickly, smiling constantly, acting energetic, trying to dominate the conversation. But recruiters don't hire energy, they hire certainty. Imagine two candidates. Candidate A speaks rapidly, answers instantly, tries to impress with every sentence. Candidate B pauses before answering, thinks carefully, speaks clearly and calmly. Which one feels more trustworthy? For most interviewers, it's candidate B, because real confidence isn't loud. It's controlled. The strongest candidates aren't trying to look confident. They're focused on communicating clearly. And ironically, that makes them appear more confident. This next myth causes countless interview failures. The belief that somewhere out there, a perfect answer exists. So candidates spend hours memorizing responses word for word. Then the interview begins. The interviewer asks a slightly different question, and suddenly panic sets in. The script no longer fits. The candidate freezes. Why? Because memorization creates dependence. The strongest candidates don't memorize answers. They memorize stories. Think about that. Not answers, stories, experiences, challenges they've overcome, projects they've completed, problems they've solved. That's why frameworks like STAR work so well. Not because they give you perfect answers, but because they give structure to your experiences. When you understand your stories, you can adapt to almost any question. When you memorize scripts, you become fragile, and interviews reward flexibility, not perfection. You've probably heard this before, sell yourself. But this advice often creates a huge mistake. Candidates become obsessed with proving how impressive they are. They talk about their skills, their achievements, their strengths, over and over again. But here's the reality. Employers are not hiring achievements, they're hiring solutions. Every interviewer is asking one question: can this person help us solve our problems? That's it. The best candidates understand this. Instead of saying, I'm highly organized, they say, I used my organizational skills to reduce project delays by 30%. See the difference? One is a claim, the other is evidence. Interviewers trust evidence, not self-promotion. And that's why the strongest candidates don't focus on sounding impressive, they focus on demonstrating value. Another piece of advice that often backfires is build rapport. So candidates force jokes, force casual conversations, force friendliness, and the interaction becomes awkward. Real rapport isn't created through performance, it's created through engagement. One technique I recommend is simple: answer, then add. For example, instead of saying, yes, I enjoy teamwork, you say, yes, I enjoy teamwork, especially when different people bring different perspectives to solving a problem. The second answer creates conversation. It gives the interviewer something to explore. That's how genuine rapport develops, not through trying to be charming, but through giving thoughtful responses. This myth affects more people than they realize. A lot of interview advice is secretly extrovert advice. Talk more, be louder, show more energy, take up more space. And many candidates try to copy these behaviors. The problem? People can feel when behavior isn't natural. The candidate becomes self-conscious. Their focus shifts from communicating to performing, and performance creates pressure. Pressure creates anxiety. Anxiety destroys confidence. You don't need to become someone else to succeed in interviews. You need to become a better version of yourself. Authentic confidence is far more persuasive than borrowed confidence every single time. So what should you do instead? Focus on 4 things: preparation over performance, structure over scripts, evidence over self-promotion, communication over impression management. Because confidence doesn't come from pretending, confidence comes from knowing you're prepared. When you understand your experiences, understand the company, and understand how to communicate your value, interviews become dramatically easier. The biggest mistake candidates make is believing interviews are performances. They're not. They're trust-building conversations. And trust isn't created through perfect answers. It's created when preparation allows your real competence to come through. Stop trying to impress. Start trying to communicate. Because the candidate who communicates clearly will almost always be the candidate who performs perfectly.